I can do an analogy.
Yeah.
Your dip is like fullback dive on 4th and 1, you know?
Ooh.
Devil you know.
Dynamite segue.
The Zen is more of a tush push where we do not yet know the potential future ramifications despite what the Jason Kelce's of the world might tell us.
Sample size is too small.
That's right.
I just think it's hilarious thinking of our pal, former teammate Jason Kelce,
Hitting loafers.
going to Minneapolis to speak to the owners on behalf of the Tush Push yesterday. Almost akin to like a big tobacco lobbyist going into D.C. to confront, the Senate about
That's right.
the benefits of Zen. I think that's a good comparison, Macon. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Beau.
Jason Kelce, Philip Morris. Welcome to the Green Light Podcast presented by BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up.
What's the deal with lightning generally?
Let's talk about it.
So
Start the pod that way.
when you're, I thought we had.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay. When you're in a car and like there's rubber on the road, you're safe.
You're absolutely safe
Okay.
because you're grounded.
You're grounded.
That's right. But you're not safe if you're traveling down the road at like 50 miles an hour necessarily. You're not going to get electrocuted. And Beau, weigh in here.
I'm always ready to weigh in on weather-related concerns, Chris.
Where you live in a state where there's a lot of lightning strikes.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning, it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. Shout out to Patty Maroon. But like when the lightning hits your car, if you're going too fast, I assume with all the electronics fried, it's probably not safe because you're just now you're just headed down the road with no electronics.
Yeah, we've become slaves to technology, Chris. You can't drive a car without the nav, the hub, the music.
How about the headlights, bro?
Drive.
Is that a thing though?
Nah, you don't need those.
Cars get struck and everything goes dark?
Everything gets fried, I think.
Really?
So you don't want to get struck in that. I might be wrong.
But if you're in a river, is that a problem? I know if you're like
Being
swinging a golf club, that's a problem.
It's a big problem.
That's a conductor.
Being on the river, you want to be away from the bank, way away from the bank.
Yeah, if you're in a river, you're not grounded. You're the opposite of grounded.
Yes.
Even if you're standing in waist deep water in the center of the thing?
Yeah, no. You're going to get. One time I was on a river, I tell my kids all the time, I'm a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning hit the river down the way, and I felt like I stuck my finger in a big-ass plug.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I ran as fast as I could into a car. I got into somebody else's car. I just ran out, opened their car. Car was open. I got in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Little B&E?
Little B&E. Well, it was
carjack?
unlocked. It was unlocked.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to the show, Beau.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's always a pleasure. Macon,
Bo.
it's good to see you, man.
Got the whole gang in here today. Almost.
Likewise, player. Likewise.
The whole gang.
Pleasure.
We got a lot of football stuff, but first I wanted to see how you guys felt about this pet peeve of mine. You know how I feel about birthdays?
Yeah. You feeling correctly about them? Go ahead.
Wait, how do you feel about them, Chris?
I feel like, dude, do you really need a birthday text? Have you ever sat there on your birthday and been like, I know where you land on this, Beau?
Well, I love attention, but no, what I've been doing lately is you just hit someone with a HBD, all lowercase. That's it.
Or just take off the D and
every
hit him with an
single
HB.
HB, what's a
Yeah.
exactly.
I like
Keep it-
Hot Brown?
No,
Hot Brown, yeah.
Hot Brown coming down.
Just
Yep.
happy birthday.
Yeah,
This is
thank
one
you.
word.
Yeah,
I
just
got
a
you.
happy birthday.
That's a good point. No, but the
HBD is sufficient, though, just so you guys know. Like, that's all you really need to do.
Are you talking about giving or receiving?
giving or receiving, you don't need a birthday text. Do you need a birthday text?
I love birthdays, but I'm agnostic on the text message part of the birthday.
So, but like my point is this, like everybody it seems on their birthday is looking at their text messages and being like, who's texted me, who hasn't. That's kind of a fucked up way to live.
I guess so. I like that we're out of the Facebook wall era of seeing whether or not you're cool or like.
Right.
Because that was a big deal.
So my brother Howie, he's got a wonderful wife, Erica, who I absolutely love. And you know I'm about to say something negative. I love both of them like so much. Erica is like, I just want to, this whole segment's going to be how awesome Erica is. She's like a godsend. I cannot believe that my younger brother found somebody so amazing. Nothing against him, but this is like a miracle. It's a work of God.
Do you know who she is? His wife.
His wife. So yesterday, Howie, sorry to burst the bubble, Erica. I know you got a text from me and Kyle at the same time. Did one of those group texts at like 9 a.m. as if like you didn't give me the whole day. And he's like, hey, it's Erica's birthday today. She would appreciate it if she received a text from you guys. And, you know, shout out to Erica right now. She's with child and, you know, probably like, that's a motherfucker, you know?
I mean, I wouldn't want to be the OBGYN. But just carrying the child?
That's a lot.
All right.
Back to the point. The point is like, I don't need that text. Let me live and die with my inattention to the calendar. And like, it's just so manufactured. So long story short, I text immediately, right? Hoping that Kyle did the same so she could see the error in his way. Like, you know, if you get two texts from like two brothers at the same time, you're obviously prompted. 4 hours go by. I don't get a thank you.
Oh, well. But
You don't need a thank you on a HBD, though.
What do you mean?
You get a heart. That's what you
I didn't get anything.
Okay, but she has the whole day.
So what I did is I put back in the group text, I said, Howie, can you please let Erica know that I would appreciate a text back?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
You know you can schedule text these days? So
No.
like, maybe next year, schedule a text for Erica at 12:01.
That would involve knowing everybody's birthday. I just, listen, I love the fact that we're all here. Like, I love all of you. Love all of you. So glad you were born.
Ugh.
But at the same time, you did not much to earn your birthday.
What would you rather have?
Like
A scheduled?
My point entirely with the whole.
Like, do you need a pat on the back for coming out of a hole blind 30
dude.
years ago? Like,
Yeah, dude. No, I disagree with you. Though. Birthdays are sweet, and they should be celebrated.
if you're into that,
Am I gonna catch a stray here or not?
no. July 9th?
No. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know yours
don't
because
know.
you're so into them.
But one of your several goddaughters, you may remember. I told you.
I know.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
But no, but that makes a lot more. That makes a lot more sense.
Do you want me to let that go from here on out?
No.
Surely you don't know her birthday.
No.
I could tell you again.
No.
Like now.
No. Don't tell me. It's better I don't know.
So you'll just never know.
What I'd like to do is make a calendar with everybody's birthday just for birthdays to keep all you motherfuckers happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Get a burner just for scheduled birthday texts.
Reed doesn't like birthdays. Reed's like, he's like me. He's like, I don't even want to hear about it.
No, yeah, I'm good. I don't need people knowing or saying. I appreciate. See, I
do apologize for any pain I caused in your household.
No. You caused none. September 1st, by the way, moving forward.
Got it.
Yeah.
I can go back in the text. All I have to do is search in the search bar. Hey, can you text?
Dear motherfucker.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just want to get that off my chest.
would y'all rather
Happy birthday,
have,
Erica. I love you.
Would you rather
I
have
really do love Erica.
a scheduled text or a scheduled happy birthday text from somebody, or just nothing?
The scheduled text.
You know what I want? You know what I want from people? Reach out and ask, hey, how's things going? You good? Hadn't talked in a while.
But you don't want that. Yeah, you want that on any other day, not on your birthday.
I would trade the birthday text for somebody occasionally to be like, hey, you good?
For sure.
Most texts I get are like, hey, can you do this for me? Or, hey, there's a problem.
Hey, can you send this birthday text for me?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm texting and driving birthday texts. I'm going to like hurt somebody.
You know what's along this note of kind of like, you know, holiday style texts, is the thing that's always confusing to me is I'll get texts from people like on like Thanksgiving or something that I rarely talk to. And it's like a long message like, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you and your family are great. I'm like, how are you like just copying pasting this to everybody? But sometimes it's kind of personal too. And I'm not not a holiday texter like that, so it's always.
I'm
Always
so
interesting.
thankful to have you as a friend. You look back at the last text is a year ago on Thanksgiving.
It's on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
What's funny is, it's just birthday, AB, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, 2 times a year.
Yeah.
The worst is when you're just getting happy birthday once a year, and that's the only communication.
And that's the only communication, but that happens a lot. And you know what? It's fun. As we get older, we're busier. Some of us have children, some of us have jobs, some of us have other engagements and things like that. And what I noticed is, like, when I was in my 20s, I used to text like all types of people on holidays, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, especially Thanksgiving, like tell people, and I still do. Like, I'll text somebody that might be older, isn't getting as many texts, or somebody I haven't talked to in a long time that I really love, like an old coach or something. But like, as I've gotten older, it's not happening. And I totally understand it. I'm not getting the texts and I'm not sending them. Like, the people are too busy. On Thanksgiving, who has time to answer every text?
Right. Aren't you supposed to be with your family?
Right.
You're getting blown up.
Yeah.
You're expecting a text back like, dog, I'm sitting at dinner.
Yeah, what do you want me to do? Like,
Right.
hey, Meg, I don't want to eat this succulent meal at the moment. I'm going to stare at my phone and answer all the Thanksgiving texts.
Right. I'm
Don't
telling
have that
other people I'm thankful for
Don't have
them.
that time. I'm
not
thankful for
spending
everybody. I love you guys. I love all of you. And I just want to wish you all a happy birthday in advance.
There you go.
And I want to wish everybody listening to the podcast happy birthday in advance as well. And if it's your birthday today, awesome. You know who has the same birthday as my dad? They're both insurrectionist babies.
Oh.
Will Campbell and Howie Long, January 6th.
Nice.
Very fitting that Will Campbell's a Patriot.
Depends on how you define whatever happened that day. Certainly. Anyways.
Thanksgiving 2017, you texted me, Merry Christmas, bro.
Really?
Must have been, yeah. I just searched my text for thankful for you, and I've going.
So I've kind of not since, huh?
Well, I'm searching for those 3 exact words.
Got you. We'll do a study later.
Yeah.
Before we get into the all the football news, Bo, we had talked recently this week about it's fitting because I'm about to throw one in, and I apologize to some people. There's like visual misophoniacs that are like, oh, you can't zen on the podcast, you can't dip on the podcast. I've switched back to dip. I don't think it's good for you, but it's better than Zen. Nicotine salts are so 2024. I'm trying to get Bo to quit Zen as well.
Not happening, bud.
What
I'm
about
firmly addicted?
the spray?
What is the spray?
Nicotine spray. Just little,
But that's too accessible.
Where do you spray it?
I believe, into your mouth hole. Where else would you?
You boof that?
not
Can
like
you boof a
You could
spray?
suitcase a
Deodorant.
little,
Yeah, I guess
couple
so.
little sprays.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but here's the problem with like Zen and if I wind up dead, you know why?
Oh,
Because Philip Morris or
Several.
whoever invented Zen is gonna come after me. But like no, like Google nicotine salts, it's synthetic nicotine. You're not even getting the real thing. I for one prefer
not
free
great.
base nicotine.
The OG. I mean, if with that argument, why wouldn't you just go back to straight cigs?
Well, because
lung cancer.
yeah. And here's the thing. Anytime you say here's the thing, it's gonna be followed by some bullshit. But here's the thing. Like, Zen's too easy, man. Before there was Zen, were you a nicotine addict? Yes or no?
Yeah, big time. Yes.
You were.
Oh yeah.
You used to dip your
Dude,
face
quitting
off.
chewing was the hardest thing ever. I quit. I had heart surgery in Philly in 2016. I quit caffeine, nicotine, Adderall, alcohol, pre-workout, coffee, all in the same day. Sucked. Not fun.
Cold turkey.
But the cold turkey. The hardest thing was dip, because you'd be sitting in a meeting room after practice. One person starts,
yeah.
and your mouth just starts watering, dude. It was the hardest thing. I get
That's
what you're
so-
saying, though.
that's so
Nicotine
interesting.
is too accessible, or Zen is too accessible. Like, there's no effort involved in it.
It's too easy. And if you read up on it, and I used to be the idiot that was like, oh, Zen's, like it's totally like they haven't found it to cause cancer or anything. We don't know that yet. Number one, it fucks up your microbiome, the mint stuff in there. I'm just telling you, my digestion's gotten better. My mood's gotten better. And And hey, like it's not like I'm talking about breath work here. I'm talking about throwing in a dip instead of a fucking nicotine pouch.
You know about breath work?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
But like legit, I would liken it after my little bout of very amateur research. Like Zyn is crack cocaine, and freebase nicotine is just coke, which a lot of people they do.
I like that argument, but I would say more that Zyn is like a weed vape pen, and
This is the
dip
weed.
is like a joint. It's like flour,
But here's
Like,
the thing.
you gotta take here's the thing. I would chew more. I don't like carrying around a piece of garbage to spit into.
Right.
And there was a period of time, you talk about fucking up your gut microbiome, where I hated carrying out a spitter so
You were
much that
swallowing
I would
dip.
gut it. That's fucking up your microbiome.
Well,
So,
dude,
like,
I'm not
something
like you in
fundamentally
that.
carrying around a
Yeah.
piece of garbage, ding, it just
Women love
Oh,
it.
like-
Women love to find your spitters. You want, hey, you know how these alpha males are now like giving you like 5 ways to have more sex? Like that's number 1. Leave your spitters around.
yeah.
Put
Put all your spitters on her nightstand.
the
We'll love you.
spitter on her nightstand. If you want to get laid tonight, gentlemen. But here's the thing. I know this could make my teeth fall out, and I've been dipping. I'm just like most people. They probably picked up the habit pretty early. I've been dipping since I was like 15 years old. And I've always dipped once a day, strangely enough, to wind down. So I'm not like that where like I'm dipping 5-7 times a day. I've been around
That's
people that are like,
interesting to me. I know you do cope, or what is it, cope straight before
I thought you were
bed,
saying you
right?
do coke. I was like, I do now.
You're on that Kodiak.
No, I do Kodiak. So the point is, like with Zen, you feel like it's a cheat. Like you're like, there's nothing that could go wrong with this. It's just it's made of plant material.
Well, to your point, I
Just
kinda check
nicotine.
myself.
People on
I'm like,
Instagram
"Dude,
say nicotine's
20
a
milligrams."
nootropic. What the fuck does that mean? How do I know what that means? They haven't tested it, regulated it. They haven't like done enough testing on it. They know what this does. This is the evil I know, and I know it well enough to know that I'm not going to put 5-7 of these in a day. So there have been like nicotine withdrawals are terrible. I have been, I'll admit this, dealing with nicotine withdrawals since the fall. Like I was way up there, and I've been doing the staircase thing. And I finally got to the bottom step, and the next step off was not to quit nicotine altogether. It was like, let me get back to my old ways. So anybody listening, obviously you make your own choices. I'm not saying it's good. This is all bad. If you're young or if you haven't ever had nicotine before, don't. It's terrible. Like honestly, okay. Beau
I
likes
think it's
it.
cool.
All right.
I think it's cool. I think cigs are cool. I think in a order of operations, I would say smoking a hand-rolled cigarette is the coolest.
Yeah.
That's cool because you went out of your way to roll that thing up. You got your whole, situation there. I think that's.
I think that's like a Brooklyn hipster thing to do.
Yeah, not only
just
am I
like a Tommy
unhealthy,
Alter thing.
I'm also unemployed.
Yeah.
Is vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
like maybe I've got a sick vinyl collection and I smoke hand-rolled cigarettes.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty cool.
I picture a guy that looks like he's in Mumford and Sons,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or is a co-host with JJ Redick before he became the Lakers. No shade. I love Tommy. He's just the worst fucking fantasy football commissioner of all time.
No,
And by the way, there's two guys that are in my fantasy league that have been going off in the playoffs. Heroes, Bridges and Caruso. We're going to talk about the NBA later. That's the only thing Tommy really gave me and allowed me to be. I'm in a group text with those two guys. Would it be wrong for me to like text Bridges after Knicks games because I have the group text? Be like, hey, I didn't love that baseline inbound play last night. It's me from the fantasy football league. Or like text Caruso and be like, I just you did a great job on Jokic the other night. Anyways, I'm gonna throw a dip in. That's all I'm saying. I apologize in advance.
I can do an analogy.
Yeah.
Your dip is like fullback dive on 4th and 1. You know,
Ooh.
devil, you know.
Dynamite segue.
The Zen is more of a tush push where we do not yet know the potential future ramifications, despite what the Jason Kelsey's of the world might tell us.
Sample size is too small.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I have another comparison to make, kind of along those lines. I mean, if we're talking tobacco nicotine here, I just think it's hilarious thinking of our pal, former teammate Jason Kelsey,
In
going to
loafers.
Minneapolis to speak to the owners on behalf of the Tush Push yesterday, almost akin to like a big tobacco lobbyist going into DC to confront, the Senate about
That's right.
the benefits of Zyn. I think that's a good comparison, Macon. I like that a lot.
Thank you, Bo.
Jason Kelsey, Philip Morris. So talking about the Tush Push. Tush Push has been, and don't tell me I can't dip on this thing. I see Pac-Man Jones every day on his socials. He's always got a fat lip in, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You ever see Pac-Man Jones' socials? By the way, I want to get Pac-Man on the show. Pac-Man, if you're out there and you're listening to this, I want to get Pac-Man on the show.
You're tonguing your lip into your lip, producing like a. It does look.
It looks cool.
It
Like
does
you
look
look
cool.
like you look like Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born or something.
Really?
Like you look cool.
Oh, I was
You
thinking
look
about
like you
shooting
could-
myself today. Guys, it's just a joke. It's a joke.
Cri-
Had a busy morning.
We need that nicotine to kick in, baby.
Okay, Tush Push. Here's the deal. We know who voted for and against it. Are we right or are we wrong? What you got a lip in?
I'm trying to do a fake lip.
Give Macon a dip. On
No,
the
I'm
pod.
thinking.
Have a dip, bro.
No, it's been since high school. I think it'd be cool to have like a fake one, like a little piece of rubber in there to look cool. To your point, Bo.
You can get these.
Wait, are we doing a nicotine pod? Is that
We can do that. No, I mean we're doing a pod about whatever we want it to be about, which is kind of my happy place. Canadips. You ever heard, God, I can't talk. Canadips. I haven't podcasted with a dipping in a while. Canadips. Have you heard of that? It's CBD, but it's a dip, so it really doesn't hurt you. You can look cool.
I
Oh,
remember
wow.
when we started down the Zen road. Really can't hurt you.
It's a cycle.
Okay.
Do you think that you could pack dips and be a real estate agent? How do you think that would affect your clientele and their perception of you?
I try to be, and this might scare you, as authentic as myself as I can be.
But what if you're
with my
selling like
clients.
some like riverfront property in like Buckingham?
I think people would see through it.
Yeah, or like
Really?
a double wide.
Can it work for somebody? Sure. But I think with me, people would see through it in part because I would be vomiting shortly minutes thereafter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that's my move when I dip.
Yeah, to vomit for a while. Let's start with Tush Push. The best part about this is Jeffrey Lurie likening it to if it actually got struck down to a teenage boy having a wet dream. Did you hear this?
I did.
Can somebody read the quote?
Like a wet dream for a teenage boy.
Dude, are you reading your browser history again?
Yeah,
Easy there.
yeah. I unfortunately hit history.
Oh, we should do
Eyebrows.
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 Today. We need to do
Hands
eyebrows.
off.
We need,
Can't
we
delete
need
anything.
we need to do eyebrows with Bo in the C block.
Yep.
So we'll do that. Put a pin in that. But Jeffrey Lurie, man, that has to be the most wild quote I've ever heard said at an owners meeting. And I've heard some wild shit come out of owners meetings. But he's right. To get it banned would be like a badge of honor. It would join a few plays. I mean, there was a list that somebody came out with today of like all the really crafty plays that got banned in the NFL over the years. Like one being running the clock down on a penalty. There were some others.
The punt situation.
The punt
Belichick.
situation.
Yeah.
I guess, and I don't want to butcher this, so Nolan, please like hop in at any time. But it sounded like to me, the NFL was, I mean, it didn't sound like this is the reality. They wanted it banned, and they were doing everything they could to push this vote later in the summer. Fly on the wall, I'd love to have been in the meetings where people were trying to coerce and strong arm guys, and people like Dan Campbell, also a dipper,
Have you
couldn't
seen
be
it?
bought.
His bottom.
Yeah, but
bottom-
he's all
right,
day.
okay.
He's all day.
All right.
We have the teams here. Can you put up the graphic of who voted against it and who voted for it?
Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, New Orleans Saints, New York Jets, and Tennessee Titans
Voting
all voted.
against the ban
Now, what do you
Yes.
notice about
Thank you.
that?
for the push. All NFL teams at first blush.
Yeah, at first blush, yes. But also, more specifically,
Eagles, Lions, Saints.
Same.
That's
those
it.
are the only NFC teams that were okay with the
Right,
tush
right,
push
right,
continuing.
Right, 7-3. Yeah.
So to me, it's like definitely the NFC has had enough of the Eagles. Niners have had enough of the Eagles. Supposedly, Jed York told Lori to shut the fuck up during his 1 hour tirade about his wet dream.
Something to that effect. That wasn't the direct quote.
No, that's from The Athletic or
Effectively
something.
wrap it up.
Yeah, like wrap it up, Jeff. But I do think it's also like some really physical teams like Baltimore. Eagles beat them last year. I don't know if they ran the tush push against them, but they're like, we're physical. Like that goes against our every fiber in our being to vote against the tush push. Dan Campbell, he's not going to do that. Jerry Jones appreciated the player aspect of it. I guess Kelsey, to Beau's point, got up there and poured his heart out. And Jerry, of all people, were like, I appreciate what, the player, account of this deal. The crux of it to me is, it's a football play. It is a football play. Like, I heard Mark Schlereth make a point, and it was a nuanced one on Rich Eisen. So, of course, Eagles fans are in the comments, and they're all like, fuck you, Mark. The first thing he said was like, hey, listen, they banned, people pushing on extra points. If it's about safety, that's also unsafe, yada, yada, yada.
Well, they banned pushing runners of the football, period.
Yeah.
This is a loophole.
I don't know. I mean, like, you see a lot of people getting pushed in the end zone. Don't you?
It happens pretty
Yeah,
often.
like
I mean,
you
the
get caught up at the 3-yard line and then,
Yeah, there's like a
four
wave
dudes-
of people pushing the
Yeah,
pile
yeah.
into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
end zone.
Yeah. At some point, they banned aiding the runner by pushing from behind.
Now, I don't know. Did they?
And that's sort of like a thing I think we can find out.
Well, you can't like grab
I
the
think it
runner
might-
and pull
yeah,
them
maybe.
forward, I guess.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can't
know.
pull them.
I
You
don't-
can't pull people. But I don't know of a legit enforced rule that I see on the regular where, pushing a runner, and you're rarely
Yeah,
in a
you do see
situation.
a lot of scrums like towards the end zone where O lineman will come in from the back, like a running back gets stood up, and then the O lineman mob on him. And
I don't want to sound
and
stupid.
make it in.
Maybe the rule was passed in some form or fashion, but to me, it is a football play. It's a football play if you. It's owning the line of scrimmage, and that's what Mark Schlereth went on to say. He's like, I think it's a football play. It is a little bit inconsistent because of the way they've litigated the other side of the football, in special teams at least. There's no functionality to push your D lineman as a linebacker. Like that's just not something that you're going to get anything out of. For some reason, it's hard to explain, but it's just not the same. And as far as the safety is concerned, I like your metaphor. It's Zen. We just don't have a big enough sample size. But like, if we're going to go player safety, come on, bro. Like, we stop playing football.
Here's the rule. Historically, aiding the runner by pushing was prohibited. However, in 2005, the NFL removed the ban on pushing due to enforcement challenges, while still prohibiting pulling or carrying a runner.
There you go. It's too subjective to say, hey, what's a push, what's not. Listen, I think it's become a really fun pop culture thing. Like, we've gotten a lot of great memes out of it this week. It's like the world against Philly, which is just the way Philly likes it. And to Jeffrey Lurie's point, even if it was banned, we'd have a chip on our shoulder to wear if we're Philly fans. But I'm glad for one that it stuck around, because to me, if it's available to them, it's available to everybody else. And so learn to do it with efficiency and learn to do it in a way that you can actually benefit from it. The Eagles have a really big offensive line,
Yeah.
but it's not explainable. It's not solely explainable because of the size of their offensive line. There are big offensive lines in the NFL. If that were the case, then you would see it directly correlate with the size and weight of the offensive lineman in the NFL. If you were to do, kind of a graph and you were like, hey, if other teams were trying it, their success rate would be based upon how much mass is on their offensive line. There are other big offensive lines that don't even dare try it. Like the Buffalo Bills voted against it, which is, to me, ridiculous, especially when you consider that Sean McDermott said after the season, like, it's a player safety issue. and he ran it as recently as the playoffs. Like, to me, it's just about, hey, these guys are too good at it. And that is not enough, in my opinion, to ban something like the tush push.
Take Philly out of it. Would your opinion change if every other team was as successful as Philly at doing it? Because then every third and fourth and short becomes that play.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Because I think at the moment it remains entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, is anybody going to be able to stop Philly? Holy crap, is any other team going to be able to do it? But if everyone becomes good at it, that could be a bummer for short yardage situations in an otherwise very entertaining sport.
You make a great point, and maybe I would think differently if it ruined every third and short or fourth and short. But at the moment, right now, it's not affecting the quality of the game. There's just one team that's doing it well. If it ruined every short yardage situation, then that'd be one thing. But like right now, it's one team doing it. You make a great point. I hadn't thought about that, Macon. I had thought about like, hey, if it weren't the Eagles, if it were the Lions, how would I feel? And I promise you, I wouldn't feel any different. You know, you name the team I hate the most in the NFL. I don't know who that is, but if they were good at it, I'd say, hey, it's on everybody else to figure out how to do the same thing. It's not like, you know, there's some point of differentiation with all the Eagles offensive linemen or the quarterback. I mean, yeah, the guy squats 700 pounds, but like, you know, there's also some other big, strong quarterbacks in the NFL. The Bills famously couldn't convert against the Chiefs in the biggest moment, trying to do the exact same thing.
And they got a rule change because of that play, right? The line
Yes.
is now being electronically measured, just to more exact measure where that ball lands.
Yeah. So listen, try again next year.
That's the thing. If they're 2 votes short, right?
Yeah, it'll eventually get banned.
Seems like that's where we're headed.
And I think we do need to mention the ironic part of this, that 22-10 was the vote. That was also the score of the Packers-Eagles game this past season.
Which is hilarious. Makes you feel like you're
I
living
think-
in a simulation.
I might
I
vote
also think
for
like whether I was just gonna say I think whether it comes to or there's another vote on it is interesting to think about because, you know, again, this vote was tabled in the spring, pushing it to the summer. There's all the lobbying that happened in between, and they still couldn't get the vote. You know, like the league wanted this ban, they still couldn't get the vote in their favor. So there's a little bit of egg on their face with that, and I think it'll be interesting to follow the discourse around it through this season and whether the league will be willing to kind of risk that embarrassment again of the vote not going their way.
If the league wants something and they can't have it, it's like the league gets whatever it wants. We talked about this with the schedule. They get Christmas. They beat the NBA there. They want to take college football playoff Saturday. They get that. They want to move teams to London or to they want to have 8 international games. We'll do that. But it's pretty funny that they can't get this rule changed, and they clearly want it changed. So that tells me eventually they are going to get it changed. But this year they couldn't do it.
I want the Eagles to come out and lean into it more, man. It's like first down, like P and 10, you know.
Get a good positive
Defense
play.
comes out. What's that?
Get a good positive play.
Yeah, defense comes out in too high, light box, just tush push.
Run it out of 11.
You know. Yeah, run it out of 11.
You know what I mean?
Just lean into it. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
anyways, I know people are tired of hearing about the tush push, and so we don't have to hear about it for another year. Until next year, you try to get it banned again, it probably happens. So,
Well,
anyways.
until the next Eagles broadcast.
Yes.
When they line it up.
No question.
3rd and 1.
But it is funny. It's like it's from the NFL standpoint, you love it when people discuss things, you know, with passion online, in the media. This is a story. It's always going to be a story. It's always going to be a talking point. And so, you know, in a very indirect way, it's not bad for the game.
Right.
You know, people are arguing about it. Like, that's more engagement. So,
Beau, do you, as the last thing, do you feel, are you relieved that you went into the Lions' den in Green Bay, made the statement about the tush push not leaving the game, and then it came true?
I had a feeling. We got some inside sources. I was with Roger. You know, I was talking with him in the green room, and I had a feeling he was going to stick around.
that's pretty awesome.
Feel like a little bit of a savant.
I was so proud of you that day. You looked great up
It's
there,
always
buddy.
nice to be right on your takes, Cowboy. I think Chris should try it sometime.
Yep.
Got him. That's hate.
That's hate.
Another proposal that was approved at the NFL meeting was flag football is coming to the Olympics.
Yeah.
This coming in LA in 2028. NFL players able to participate. I think the rule, Nolan, you can correct me, but I think it's one player per team is allowed to be selected.
Per country.
Per country.
One per team per country. Yep.
So there are going to be some guys that are going to be playing that
for other
eligibility
other
card, I
countries.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it will be great
like
seeing.
Jordan Mailata.
Yep.
Jordan Mailata might be representing Australia.
There's no use for Jordan Mailata on a flag football field.
Yeah, true.
That's what you think, dude.
There's no, but
They're gonna come out and run the tush push flag football, dude.
worst seat, that guy who said he's better than Mahomes.
Yeah. The
That guy, like his whole world came crashing down yesterday. But I bet in his head he's like, all right, I'll just practice harder. I'm gonna figure out a way to beat Mahomes. But here's what I was gonna say about it. Do I have to root for the USA when this happens?
No.
Like,
You don't have to in any other of the Olympic sports.
I know, but I do root for the USA in like pretty much everything. And there's going to be some people who are like, yeah, you're fucking communist if you root for other countries or whatever. But like, I don't take flag football seriously. I know that I think it's awesome at a youth level. It's awesome. But as like a consumer of the product, I'm not interested. Like, it's not interesting to me to see. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see how badly we beat like Papua New Guinea. But at the same time, like, is that even a country?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. The way y'all looked at me, you were like, "Ooh, Papua New Guinea." But I do think there is so Cool Runnings, the movie. If you're rooting for the Jamaicans, you're a traitor. You know what I mean? Like we have a bobsled team. I put this in the same category. It's just not like something I care about. It's not something I will be rooting for, like Ireland. You know what I mean?
Can I hit you with a little bit of fire?
Sure.
This is what the Olympics are. Sports so respectfully that nobody actually cares about.
Damn, mate.
We know who's going to win every single competition. We know what the medal count is
What the
gonna
Olympics
be.
do to tennis?
I mean, maybe I'm an Olympic swimmer. I never tried to swim fast. You know what I'm saying?
You're not an Olympic swimmer. You're not built like a swimmer.
I disagree. I think that's the beauty of the Olympics. You turn it on a random, summer afternoon when it's the Summer Olympics, and you see a sport that you haven't seen since 4 years ago when you were watching the same obscure
Curling.
Sport. Like, oh shit, this is kind of lit.
Curling, exactly.
Yeah,
Like, it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Or-
like
Jared Allen
yeah.
might be there in a couple
archery,
years.
all the shooting competitions. Like,
just awful.
think of all the memes. Like Olympic Twitter is kind of popping off. But
Olympic Twitter.
Chris,
yeah.
go back to your point. Like, I do not care about flag football at all, but I was really surprised because when I went out for the draft, we had this like town hall meeting with Roger Goodell. There was only a couple active players that were there, and Jonathan Taylor was one of them. He's a Wisconsin guy, great dude, and he was like adamant about being excited to represent the U.S. and play flag football, and he was advocating on behalf of basically this policy that was passed. And I was like thinking about that a lot because I was like, dude, as a nose guard, like I do not give a fuck about flag football. And to me, I think that's a little bit of a positional gap and like generational gap. Like nowadays, 7-on-7s is like a huge thing.
Sure,
That
but
was
why don't
never a
you
thing
just
when I
go
was-
down to the fucking the elementary school and beat up on the elementary school kids, because it's going to be a bloodbath. The other teams don't play football yet.
Tyreek
Like, these
Hill.
all are gonna
all
be like-
JT said, he's like, to be standing up on that podium with, representing your country and you have an Olympic medal, which is what, I think all the NFL players that are playing in that are expecting. He's like, that's the coolest feeling. The anthem's playing. Like,
Yeah.
I think everyone wants that. I'm like, yeah, all right. Like,
I-
he kind of got
I
me
get
on
that,
one.
but you might as well be playing Pogs. Like Pogs and Slammers. Like, if they made that a fucking Olympic
Or-
sport, would you be like, I'm so proud to?
Or say artistic gymnastics, canoeing, cycling,
easy on the
equestrian, fencing,
Canoeing's actually tight.
handball,
Dude, the
judo,
canoeing is tight.
Judo's cool. What are you talking about?
Judo? What are you talking
Shooting,
about? Judo's
skateboarding.
badass, dude.
Macon wants the Olympics to be 3 sports.
Yeah.
sport climbing, surfing,
Dude,
taekwondo.
sport climbing, You would like sport climbing.
Break dancing, you psychos.
Agreed with
Yeah, but out of
breakdancing.
breakdancing, we got like the best meme of like
Yeah.
2024 or whatever that was. It was-
Breakdancing's already not coming back from. I think
that
Yeah,
woman
exactly.
ruined it.
she literally killed it.
She ruined it.
She fucking ruined it. I don't know. I don't mean, I'm not saying like I'm anti or like I'm poo-pooing on this whole thing, but like I just am not that into flag football. Maybe the competition will be good enough, you know, that like it's kind of fun.
Here's a
That
video.
that's the only way I get into it is if the other
My take
teams
on it is
are
that
good.
the NFL is doing this. The NFL is doing this to try to get more views for the Pro Bowl.
No,
That's it.
there's part of that, but I also think there's a couple ways you can think about it. Number one, the NFL, and I don't know if we're past like the period where they're super worried about concussion legislation, but they know they need to grow flag football generally at the youth level, and I think also like they're preparing for a day where maybe like things change a little bit. That's more far-fetched. I think the number one thing is they want the game to be more global.
Yeah.
And this is a way to do it, like to incentivize people to start playing football at some level in different countries. And it will do that, but it is not football.
And it's a way, like, you get some of these guys to play on for another nation and go to the Olympics. They're going to have, now you're going to have, you know, Ireland all cheering for, say, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He goes and plays for Ireland, you know?
Why would
And-
he?
well, just some random thing. He plays for Ireland.
He's Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey.
Right. There. Thank you. Lad McConkey plays for Ireland. Now you've got all of Ireland. They're Chargers fans.
Yeah.
You know, it introduces and I think some of these countries might need some NFL players because this was Tyreek Hill going against the best DBs from France.
Let's see it. Oh God. I mean, these are little like option routes. That's a little out and up.
That's pretty.
Now,
covered.
it's actually pretty impressive that guy was even close.
Yeah, that first one.
Yeah, that's not good. So I worry about like how embarrassing it's going to be for the other countries. They got 4 years. Figure it out. You know? I'll watch. But I'll be rooting for, you know, the other team. Speaking of and people are going to be like, "Oh, this is my dream." What do you say? Jonathan Taylor's going to be like, "I can't believe you would root against one of your NFL brothers." I'm like, "Bro, like it's fucking flag football, dude."
It's also way more fun to root for the underdogs.
It
Like,
is.
It just is.
It's inherently fun. And here's the other thing. The NFL's really into this globalization thing right now. And I saw that, like, I didn't even realize they were doing this. I mean, they've been doing it for a while. Like the Jags, most famously, they've been trying to place the Jags as like the London team. But they are starting to place franchises with other countries, trying to grow the fan bases, like kind of assigning countries fan bases. And I think it'd be funny. I was talking to Nolan earlier about how they were doing. What's your theory on how they're doing it, Nolan?
I mean, it could just be randomly assigned. I would think they have to be using some kind of like social media engagement, like analysis or something to kind of pin
Propaganda.
kind of like teams that make sense to for certain countries. I don't know,
Dude,
There has to be
I'm
some
gonna pick
methodology
like
to it.
I'm gonna pick like the worst country and like do a bot farm in that country for the Dolphins. You know, like
So Russia.
Russia.
First bot farm Russia with the Dolphins.
Yeah. There's a lot of activity.
AstroTurfing the fuck out of Russia. Like, how's it feel?
Yo, people in North Korea love Tua. They're not even tweeting there, but like all of a sudden there's a bunch of IP addresses
Got a
popping up
nuke
being
for
like,
an arm.
no, he
Yeah,
does throw a
love
great
him.
deep ball.
Yeah, he's got a nuke.
You guys got a
Rock
nuke,
it
so
on.
do we. No, you don't. No, you don't.
You know who I'm going to be?
Packers in Ireland's a no-brainer. It's just whites.
As
What's the
is
other-
the Saints in France, the Fleur de Lis.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. South Korea, L.A.
I'm holding off on a couple of these, and I want credit for that.
Okay.
I'm going to continue to hold off.
What are you holding off on?
Very inappropriate.
Jokes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay.
So this is from NFL.com. NFL clubs can apply for rights to international markets by submitting proposals to the International Committee for review each spring. So it actually sounds like teams kind of pick where they want to.
Oh, that's
So-
Man,
interesting.
Austria. I would love to be one of the 6 teams linked to Austria. That'd be nice.
What?
Go play in the Alps.
Oh, yeah, it'd be awesome.
Be pretty tight.
It'd be
How about
awesome.
the Swiss Alps? Hey, you know who I'm going to be rooting for during the Olympics?
Who?
Counter programming.
What is
some-
Shark Week?
Some home improvement.
Shark
reruns.
Week.
You got it.
Shark Week.
Yep.
This could be some alternate content for you during the Olympics. The Brett Favre documentary on Netflix.
Watch it again in 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it on. Don't watch it until the Olympics in 2028.
Yeah.
But Netflix has a series, Untold. The latest release was Brett Favre was the subject. Ran through his time with the Packers in the NFL, but focused on his sexting of Jets employee Jen Sturger.
Okay, first off, I don't think it's sexting. I think he sent an email. I think he was 41-year-old man
Voicemails and
sending emailed dickies to like people half their age.
MySpace DMs.
Well, I
essentially.
think the dickie in question came from an email address.
Oh, really?
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly in the
Like a
documentary.
burner email.
Like the T-mail?
No,
Lazarus?
it
Yeah,
wasn't a
T-mail.
burner. It said Brett
Brett Favre
at
like 69.
Yeah,
Favre at
yeah.
4. But before we get serious about this thing, because it is very serious, the most jarring image in the whole thing is the blacked out, his blacked out piece, and like didn't need much blacking out, did they? I mean,
No.
it's unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. I remember that from when it happened.
Oh, but like seeing it like censored is even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just like, whoa.
Can I tell you my favorite part?
Sure,
By far,
sure.
Peter King having size 14
Yes.
feet.
Yes.
And then Brett saying, God dog, Peter.
Is that what happened?
God dog, Peter. And
How
then the
big
look
your
he gave his teammates, he was just like,
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
that was
He was like, what size shoe do you wear? He said 14. And then he goes, God dog, Peter.
it's great.
Him and Peter King were buddies.
Yeah.
Didn't he find out? Peter was saying I was at the Favre home when he was deciding whether he was retire or
Yeah.
go back. That
Yeah.
was surprising.
It's an odd couple there.
Yep.
I'll say this about Brett Favre, man. Not knowing any of this, if you didn't know any of this, when you watched him for most of his career, he's like a superhero. I think that's why people have such a hard time with this. Like, number one, people have a hard time with athletes because they can kind of separate the person from the craft. It's like with artists or musicians, like you don't need to be a good person to be great at football. You don't. And you don't need to be a good person to be a CEO either, you know, or a head of a company that's exploiting people or whatever. But
real estate agent.
yeah, but it feels like more of a straight line to like the decisions you make off the field and in business. Like you can draw that straight line from somebody who's a businessman. But like a lot of fans have a hard time because not only are they feel fooled and their confirmation bias won't allow them to now hate the guy, but also like there is something about being an athlete where it transcends like the type of person you are. And I will say this, like Brett Favre was like a hero, dude. You know, he could throw the football legitimately over the mountains. I mean, he's like all-American gunslinger quarterback. The way he played, it was so fun to watch. And, you know, when his dad died and he played like the next night or whatever on Monday Night Football and he lit it up, like as a football player, he was probably the perfect teammate. He was probably one of the guys, man's man, all that stuff. You can be all those things without being a total asshole. And I don't think he's the only person to ever make inappropriate advances, and I'm not excusing it. I think it's like, listen, when a woman's not interested in you, fuck off, right? That should be kind of like, that's what I'll tell my boys as they grow up. Like, and maybe don't email dick pics generally at all. But I'll say this, like, they spent a lot of time on the womanizing, and I was like, hey, when are we going to get to the part where he fucking defrauded the poorest people in one of the poorest states in America?
Yes.
And what's wild to me is Michael Vick was on this thing.
He started it off.
Michael Vick was on this thing,
Yeah.
and at first I was like, is he going to denounce directly, like, kind of what Brett's doing? And he did. The irony there is, like, Michael Vick had to go to prison for how he treated dogs. And our society decided with Brett Favre here over the last couple of years that what he allegedly did is not that bad.
Yeah.
Because
That was the point.
he was doing it to
Including
poor
Vic.
people.
Yeah.
And I think, not for nothing, if there's ever a time to steal from people on welfare in this country, it's right now, and people will look the other way. In fact, I think for a lot of people, they're like, well, who gives a fuck? I'm not one of those people. But you can tell in the reaction that it's just not enough for people. And it's their confirmation bias for sure, but it's also what he did. I think a lot of people don't care. And that to me is sad, to think about stealing that much money, allegedly, from, I don't want to get Pat McAfee here, from the poorest people in our country, the most, the most vulnerable people in our country. And they spent the last 15 minutes on it. But that to me, and I heard somebody in the doc say this. He was like, yeah, all those dick pics and all the cheating. Maybe we shouldn't have been surprised about the federal welfare scandal. I was like, okay, so we're equating the two. Like, we're drawing a straight line from being a womanizer to defrauding like thousands and thousands of people, hundreds and thousands of people in the poorest state in the country. I just, to me, that was a little bit of a sloppy needle to thread, but that does not discount the fact that, hearing that he came on 2 massage therapists and then they got fired because they reported it, and everything that happened to Jen Sturger and, her show getting canceled. When you put yourself in a woman's shoes, it's scary to work in a football building. And so, you feel bad for Jen when she talks about her account of it. And, Deadspin, for instance, like the whole thing, even the people who were reporting on it, like kind of used her. Supposedly she told the story to the people at Deadspin and got like cold feet or something, and they ran it anyways. And they used her name and the whole thing. And surprise, surprise, Deadspin's the worst fucking collection of human beings of all time. It's a tabloid that was masquerading as like a journalistic endeavor. Those people suck. And the guy that was on the news,
Bob Kleeman of that era, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the MLS football of the early internet culture. But no, to your point, Chris, I felt the worst for that woman because, this is someone who basically she kind of blew up overnight off of just being a good-looking fan at a game, right? And she tried to ride that for as long as she could, and into a legitimate sports career, finally got like the peak of her career, and then essentially just a creep, the star of the show, a stud quarterback in the final throes of his NFL career, kind of just fucked that all up for her. And that's what I thought was so interesting. It's like, this is someone who it seemed like she did a really good job of capitalizing on her attractiveness and things like that, and then just got preyed upon, and it all kind of went downhill. It just, I don't know, it made me really feel for her. And then exactly what you said, Deadspin, she didn't even authorize any of that. Like, they had the emails up where she was saying, I'm saying this shit off the record. And of course, Deadspin, like the scummy company that they are, they still put it out there for clicks and everything like that. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, is like, I thought it was so interesting. Like you said, they focused on that so much more than the fraud.
Yeah.
Which is like the more recent, it's like literally still ongoing.
It's the rarest transgression. The other transgression, I'm not excusing it. He's not the only person in NFL history to be inappropriate with an employee, or, he's not the first person in NFL history to cheat on his wife or to be a womanizer.
Quarterback with like 28 allegations against him that's playing for the Browns currently.
Right now, dude. Right now. And so, like, to me, that was like the big flaw of that thing. I mean, it wasn't the best watch in the world. It's one of those things where you're like, me shitting on the documentary does not mean that I'm excusing what it was covering. But it's a funny thing, because if you thought he was fucked up for everything he did, it was no news to you. And if you didn't think so, you're probably not watching that documentary and feeling any differently, because all that information was, they said untold.
The untold story of the fall of Brett Favre, featuring all the information that you already knew.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it changed nobody's mind, I bet.
I think also what went untold was any of the specifics of the welfare scandal. It was like money was misappropriated and he was involved, and a volleyball stadium got built.
Yep.
I was left wanting for more information about the scandal.
Especially on the concussion company that he had invested in that received some of the funding. But listen, it just speaks to a lot in our society about how we do it all the time. Like, we do it all the time. Even in this room, some people that we really admire for their talents, like, we look past things. And I think quarterbacks and athletes, and especially quarterbacks, because it's one of the rarest positions in sports, period. Like, you can't find them. And this guy happens to be the key to like an entire generation of Packers viability. And so what are the Packers going to do? You know, like I'd like to think I would do things a certain way. I mean, it wasn't during the Packers tenure that this stuff blew up, but like imagine there were things that happen in Green Bay. Like, what are they going to do? Like, be like, you can't be our quarterback anymore? It's akin to sinking your franchise.
Right.
And so, and that's because of the scarcity of that resource, which is a guy who can throw the football over those mountains. And it's the same thing in American culture, is like the rarer a talent is, the more we'll look past their personal shit.
Well, it sounded like there was some things like that in Green Bay. Like the one reporter was like, "Hey, I was told to write a story about Brett Favre, the family man."
But he was just talking about cheating, and he was talking about being like a depending on how you think, like a back. I'm not gonna call infidelity a mortal sin, like it's akin to beating women or stealing money from poor people or sexually assaulting somebody. Like, he's not the only one. There are people in Green Bay wearing Favre jerseys who are cheating on their wives. Like, but it was interesting that the media knew enough about him to be like, hey man, he's just not a great guy. I'm not going to write this story about the great guy. And to teammates, this is what's complicated. There are guys that we have played with that you're going to be like, oh, he was awesome. Like, he was great in the locker room. We did team dinners. We went out drinking. We went out fishing. We went out hunting. He was a man's man. But like, your teammates don't have to deal with the repercussions of what's going on when that person leaves the building. And so for football players, it's easy to be like, well, all his teammates seem to love him. Well, yeah, they were playing football with him. When you walk in the facility, it's not about like, is he cheating on his wife, or, you know, is he inappropriate with women? Like, they don't necessarily know that. So it's hard. It's kind of doubly shocking when you're like, well, even to the people that he worked with, he seemed like they loved him, and they probably did. Like, all his teammates probably loved him. I think it's like one of those things where he's just skated.
I think what you're kind of getting at, and my takeaway from the documentary, is like, it's basically about the pitfalls of hero worship.
Yes.
You know, at a time when like right before social media, you know, and Brett Favre was the first jersey I had. It's probably the only NFL jersey I actually owned growing up. And like, I love the way he played, and I thought he was a tough guy and a gunslinger and blah, blah, blah. But like, bottom line is he's a creep, and he fucking took advantage of disadvantaged people in Mississippi, you know, like you said. But I thought the documentary fell short on like really kind of like getting into, you know, hero worship and lack of repercussions for, you know, these heroes, especially sports heroes that do wrong. Like, kind of what you said earlier, like they had Michael Vick and they interviewed him too. I think that there's a very interesting comparison to make there that you kind of touched on, is like, you know, Michael Vick did time for his crimes. It doesn't look like there's any serious repercussions for Brett Favre. Like, let's talk about the racial implications of that. We can, you know, all these different things that I was kind of hoping that the documentary would get into, and they never even went there.
Racial implications from the perspective of how we view the perpetrator and how we view the victims, because there's an unfortunate stereotype where it's like, okay, well, everybody on welfare they're non-white, and like, you know, it's like, that's bullshit. Like, I don't want to get into it, but I know a lot of white people on welfare, dude. And you know, I do think that enters into the conversation for the average pinheaded fan, where they're like, you know, well, he was just stealing from poor people who I think are leeching from society anyways. And I think now is the best time to get by on that lie, because of the way things are in our society. And it does suck, because Michael Vick went to prison for how he treated dogs, and Brett Favre is still walking around revered and loved by a lot of people. No repercussions. Maybe, as they pointed out, he lost some copper fit money or whatever, because he was stealing from people that nobody cares about, and that's fucked up.
And similarly, Beau earlier called out Deshaun Watson and didn't make mention of Justin Tucker.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Allegedly.
I forgot about Justin Tucker. Yeah, I mean, that's fucked up too.
Well, he's a kicker.
Yeah. I mean, I hate him for being a kicker and all the other allegations.
All right, so that's heavy shit. On to one more heavy thing. Jim Irsay died, and this was last night. It was kind of a shock. Like, I texted you, you didn't even know about it.
Nope.
Good job staying off your phone.
Thanks.
I think what was cool about Jim Irsay was like, he had everything, and he owned an NFL team. He was powerful enough to open or close the roof of an NFL stadium on a whim every Sunday. Like these guys are ultra powerful people, and a lot of them are very boring and guarded and kind of robots, and they all act the same and they're real homogenized. And I thought like Jim Irsay was really colorful, and I thought Jim Irsay was very relatable in how normal he was. I'm not saying me and Jim Irsay are the same, but what I'm saying is like if I owned an NFL team, you'd probably still read some goofy ass tweets. Like, you know, the guy was tweeting like he was a normal guy. He was collecting guitars. He had an amphibious vehicle that he was very proud of. Remember that? He had a four-wheeler that could also go in the water. And he
landed his helicopter, jumped right on the vehicle, and just sprinted.
He was geeking out about it. And you know, like he seemed like a guy that loved to have fun. Obviously, like some of the having fun caused him a lot of hurt and pain over his lifetime. But I thought he was so relatable in that he was like a normal guy who had everything. And, you know, for a guy that like grew up, ball boy, his dad owned the team. I think he took over in 97 as the owner. He became the COO in 96. Like, so his whole life has been spent around this organization, which he obviously cared a great deal about. They won a Super Bowl. And by all accounts, just a wonderful guy to know and play for. And I also think the other thing that's really humanizing about him is he was open about his addiction, man. Like, addiction is a disease, man. And a lot of people listening probably suffer from it on different scales, right? Like, I have an addictive personality, no question. Since the day I was,
we open up this podcast talking about our addiction to nicotine.
No question, which has gotten a lot of people, and I'm not likening it to cocaine or what have you, or heroin or some things that people struggle with like mightily. But like, I'm just saying there's a lot of people that are going through things that Jim Irsay was graceful enough and open enough to talk about. That, and I think that stuff humanizes you, man. Like he said on like Real Sports in 2023, he'd been to rehab like 15 times. And it wasn't like a proud thing. It was like, I'm a human being, and this is the struggle I've had my whole life. You grow up, you know, hearing his dad coming home drunk, shooting at his dog, his mom hiding in the closet. Like, you know, there's no wonder the guy had some demons. And, you know, like I think what it says is two things. Is like, number one, all that stuff that you accumulate in your lifetime, money, a pro sports team, guitars, like whatever he was collecting, his most prized possessions, it didn't make him immune from the pitfalls of humanity and just being a person. And I think also, like, you know, I love this quote I saw. I was reading about him in the Indy Star. This is a Greg Doyle article that he wrote yesterday. I love this quote. I've never seen anybody in a hearse pulling up a U-Haul. That's what Jim Irsay said. For a guy that accumulated a lot of stuff and gave a lot away. He gave a lot to charity, stepped up for the Indianapolis community a lot. He said, never seen anybody going to the cemetery pulling a U-Haul. It's dust to dust. We're all equals. And I truly think that was like how he really felt. And for all his flaws, I'm sure, like with any person who has addiction, there are people around you who are suffering as a result in different ways. And he made some decisions at times that were questionable. He had some questionable tweets. He hired Jeff Saturday. That was a big thing. People were super upset about that. But I truly believe he did everything with his heart in the right place, which I think a lot of people say, well, that's not enough. Look at all the bad people with power in the world, man. And he had a lot of power, but I do not think he was a bad person. Quite the opposite. I think he was a good person. When you hear like guys like Dwight Freeney on Good Morning Football this morning, or Brandon Stokely, the old wide receiver for the Colts, like just guys coming out of the woodwork, guys that I played with that loved him. He left a complicated but really a legacy that he could be proud of, I think. Like, and I just wanted to talk about him because I think in a room full of guys that to me are so fucking vanilla and so cookie cutter and oftentimes are so cowardly, these owners, he led with his heart on his sleeve, and he was normal in the most tragic ways, and it was humanizing, and it was cool to watch Jim Irsay go about his business, even though he was probably struggling a lot. And I don't know how he died. That's not coming out right now, but super sad. He tweeted like, 8 hours
Pacers.
before about the Pacers. And boy, was that a Jim Irsay bounce.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
That ball went 30 feet in the air. There's no way Jim Irsay didn't have something to do with that. I'm still like, if not for Jim Irsay, the Knicks are up 1-0 as a Knicks fan. But I just wanted to shout out Jim Irsay, man. And I hope they open the fucking roof every week this year. That would be really cool. A nod to Jim Irsay. Open that damn roof so he can look down. He probably sees it anyways. He's got Sunday ticket up there. But I think it would be really cool if they open the roof as a little nod to Jim Irsay. I know there's going to be a lot of remembrance around him this fall. I think the other thing is, and this is just like us in the room, you ever notice when somebody really powerful or great or accomplished dies, like you get the text message and you're like, oh my God. And 5 minutes later, you're making a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
So live your life, bro. Like live your life the way you want to live it, because nobody fucking cares. Really. Nobody cares. In 5 days, we'll be over this. And I'm not saying everything I said isn't true, but like live your life the way you want to live it, because when it's over, it's over. Like, and just the way you got that text message, I'm pretty sure 10 minutes later you were like doing whatever you're doing. And so like, just shout out to Jim Irsay, man.
Shout out to Jim Irsay. Well said. I think a lot of those guys put on airs like they are better than everyone else, and he did not do that. Seemed to be a very genuine guy.
Andrew Luck retired. I think he left like $30 million on the table. A lot of owners will go after that money when guys retire. Let him have it. I feel like he, to your credit, like definitely a character. He had his demons, but he fucking loved football. He loved the Indianapolis Colts, and I mean, I think his players, guys that played for him, like have a lot of respect for him too.
And he loves Sarah Palin's feet.
Yeah.
For his Twitter. And in a week, we won't do it now, but I want to pull up like his best tweets of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe right now. In Miami, playing Angry Birds, in quote, in hotel room. One of them suckers hopped out of me phone and bit my dog Howard right in the ass. Too much caffeine. But that's what I mean. Like the guy owns it. There are alligators slithering about my box, and the doors are locked and chained. Never smoked the snake dog without chain cutters and weapons. I hired the Gimp, Pulp Fiction 2, to clean my reading glasses. He lives in a trap door in my owner's suite, but also does my grocery shopping.
That was tweeted September 7th, 2012 at 5:24 a.m.
Yeah, and maybe during some of these he was having a good time, but it's time to let the monster get out of its cage to feed, and his picture of Jim just living. Happy trails, or you say happy trails. I don't want to say R.I.P. Happy trails, because he's on to the next thing. Jim's living another life somewhere.
That's right.
And he's going to be looking down on the Colts this year. And that guy who sings for the shoe had a really touching rendition of his little spiel that he taped in his car yesterday. Have you guys seen this?
No.
The guy who says, "For the shoe."
Oh, yeah.
Could have done 2 takes maybe.
Really?
But I like the authenticity. So, yeah, it sucks. We go from defrauding people on welfare to Jim Irsay dying, one of the most beloved football figures, 65 years old, too young. But he probably lived enough in his 65 years to be 120. And like you said, one more time, this quote: I've never seen anybody in a hearse pulling a U-Haul. And listen, it's easy to say if you have everything, you're not going to want for anything, and life's going to be perfect. But I think, like, take it from a guy who had everything, he doesn't give a fuck, and that's good way to live your life. Like, the materials are not important; it's the experiences, the people, and living your life. So,
Absolutely.
shout out to him for that Irsay bounce. The Knicks absolutely choked.
At what point, your Knick fandom withstanding, are we going to give credit to the Indiana by God Pacers for doing this over and over and over again?
Dude, they're good. And your guy, your personal friend, Rick Carlisle.
Talk about texting people.
You texted him?
I didn't text him after last night. Been sprinkling texts. We dine together, we golf, we text. I haven't yet texted him after that one. I think you need a couple days come down after that one.
23 points in the final 3:14 of regulation.
I'm going to tell you what I did. I'm sitting there in the family room last night watching that game. Ball bounces 30 feet up in the air, goes in. I'm like, we lost. Then I could tell it was a 2. So we got overtime. I get up and go to the bathroom and crank my hog. I don't even watch. I don't even watch overtime. I'm just like, I
You
know
need
how
some
this
dopamine.
ends. I know how this ends, dude. I know.
You rock the choke celly as well.
Yeah, dude. It's exactly right. It might have been a Freudian thing. But I was like, as soon as that shot fell, I was like, I just don't need to see this. Like I know what's going to happen. I walk back out and it's 136 to 135. The Knicks lose possession. You're just like, damn.
But bro, can you imagine if
I didn't really do that.
If
But I
Halliburton
didn't watch.
had done the Reggie Miller choke and then they lose in overtime?
Oh, I know. That's
You probably can't come back from that.
No, you probably can't.